Hi, Joyce, Dudley, District Attorney of Santa Barbara. I seem to be losing my voice. I don't feel like it, but anyway, while we have this quiet time together, I just did want to tell you the day that I came up with the Teva sandal that saved Deckers and created all the millionaires and billionaires and everything, and Doug and Bree and Carl and Pam, Carl and Pam Locker, Doug and Bree Otto, and Evan Bishop, and my ex-wife Tracy Dorden and John Dorden. They all know they swindled me, they colluded against me, they're all felons. These are some of the worst human beings that ever lived, and the crimes they committed against me caused my PTSD. And I know how clever a guy I am. I mean, Pam Blocker called me the only authentic genius she'd ever known in her entire life, Joyce Dudley. But let me just tell you where the Teva sandal came from, because I know that the most important thing when you're getting a patent is called it's the same thing as when I found that when Dolly and Andy were the ones who told me it was my Teva sandal. Remember, it's because a beginner's mind, my philosophy, and this has been my whole life, has been about being clever and inventing, being an inventor. That was the most important thing when I was a kid, being an inventor, when I thought there was this thing called an inventor. And then when the Beatles came along, inventing songs became my big thing. So those are still the two most important things in my life: my inventions and my songs. And the thing that's so amazing about the Teva sandal is that it came to me with an actual flash of lightning up in Lake Tahoe. So here's the scenario. It's in August, and the monsoon season, and we're in Lake Tahoe. Tracy is at one of the customers, and I'm on the street, sort of next to the street, parked in our motorhome, and I had just gotten off the phone with Desperado's cancer doctor. Desperado had cancer. Desperado and I always had a psychic connection. She came to me a day or two after my Uncle Jim died. I had no intention of having a dog. The song Desperado, about a week after I had her, tried to give her away, put signs up, found, all of that, called all of the shelters and everything, just tried to get rid of this dog, didn't want a dog. We were sitting there in my apartment that was not dog friendly exactly, and I worked all the time. It was just really hard for me to think about getting a new dog. And the song Desperado came on, and she came toward me and looked at me and she said, "Listen, bud, that's my song. That's who I am." We suddenly had this connection, and that was it. She was the most amazing dog. She was my I had a real connection with Desperado. Anyway, Desperado, we were just getting ready to go out on the road to try to save Deckers. They couldn't afford, they were just going down the hill. Doug Otto had just blown every opportunity. I mean, I had saved the company in my own way by my own just-in-time standards that they'd never had, because they discovered when they got their computer that the whole 10 years that the business had been there, Joyce Dudley, there was the old try this, try that. They could see it. They could see it when they bought the MFG Pro. It was the HP 250 that they copied to make MFG Pro. The Hewlett Packard manufacturing software, they could see 9 years of business, and then Gene Crimmy comes along, and all off of his head and his cleverness, zoom, all of the costs go way zooming down, because I came up with my own just-in-time principles before there was a computer, all out of my head. Carl Locker got the computer. He came out there. It was a day that I was doing the inventory, a freeze inventory, all by myself, because Carol and Roger and all of their employees couldn't get it right. They couldn't come within 30% of getting the actual inventory to match what the computer was. And we were doing a freeze, which had to do with, it's an important inventory. And and they asked me to help, and I just said, send everybody home, let me do it by myself. And so it went from everybody, including Carol and Roger, who had higher positions in the company than me, made a lot more money than me. They could get it within about 30% of being right. I got it within 0.5% of being right. I fixed the whole thing. I did the inventory all by myself. It was a freeze inventory, which is it's kind of a difficult thing to do, but I knocked that thing out. And while I was knocking that thing out is when Carl excitedly came out with a stack of reports off of his new computer system that showed what an amazing thing Gene Crimmy was. In the 10 years of their business, I had saved them so much money on carrying costs and all the things. It was just in time. I created my own just in time system, all by myself, all out of my head. These people that cheated me out of everything. But anyway, we're up in Lake Tahoe, and I had just gotten off the phone with Desperado's cancer doctor. Now, no one believed that Desperado, including the vet, believed that Desperado was sick. He did a checkup, said this dog is perfectly healthy, perfectly well. Well, Desperado had communicated with me the way she always did, mentally, and told me that she was sick. So I said, well, let's do some more tests. So they did tests, and he called me back, and he was one of the most famous vets in California. I looked him up on a book when after Desperado had told me that she was sick. And I was really concerned, and he called me up and he said, well, this is the first time it's ever happened, but your dog has a stage 1 lymphoma with no symptoms. I don't know how you knew. And I said, well, she told me. Well, as a matter of fact, Joyce, Dudley, and Rebecca Sherrick, it didn't help at all. She still died in a very short amount of time, but we spent a fortune on her. By the way, one of her favorite things, well, the two best things were Chinese herbs and Chinese medicine and acupuncture, in my opinion. The acupuncture really relieved a lot of her stress. But anyway, we were up in Lake Tahoe, and we were also doing the regular Western medicine with cancer treatment. And I had a very disturbing conversation with her cancer doctor about her prognosis, and I'd said, no more, I'm not going to put her through any more of this. I could just imagine them doing more and more and more until she was laid out on a table with tubes coming out of her, like people get ridiculously prolonging whatever it is, no reason for it. And anyway, I just told him that, and that was like I had, it was like me, calling the shots on her. It was the thing. It was the thing that was hardest on me, is picking the time. Always picking the time for her death was. I knew. A district attorney of Santa Barbara. If I can legitimately, and I'm telling you now I can, take all those lie detector tests that you'll see, the people will see who are interested in this website, about what I did for the Ottos and the Lopkers and how they never told me about my Tevasandal. It was their requirement. It was part of our contract. They all know what monsters they've been to me, starting with my ex-wife, Tracy Jordan. She knows everything, even though she has borderline personality disorder and she thinks she's done just fine. She thinks she's done just fine. She couldn't pass a single lie detector test of the questions I could put to her. But here's what I'm asking you. This is my victim's impact statement from now on, and it's an opera. I don't want them to try to stop my opera. I don't want them to stop my activities. They legitimately owe me the $100 million on the invoice. I want to continue to make a big deal about that. But if I can pass the lie detector test, and I can. Now here's the thing, Joyce. When I was in Lake Tahoe, I told the doctor that my dog was not going to be given any more cancer medicine and I was going to have to let nature take its toll. And when I did finally make an appointment to have her put to sleep at Foothill Veterinary Hospital in Pasadena, I did so at her request.